Welcome to Convo Fango. Tonight we are talking about Slumber Party Massacre. We are joined by writer Suzanne Keilly and director Danishka Esterhazy. I have my slumbering suit on. Some people call it pajamas, but that's very commonplace. I have my murder weapons ready to go. I am ready for a Slumber Party Massacre proper.
You were really ready. That's fabulous.
So thank you so much for coming to hang out and talk about this with us today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is nice. This is the first time Suzanne and I have had a chance to chat about the film together since it came out.
This is the first one? Is this your first duo interview for this?
Yeah.
I am super honored then to be able to have that distinction. It's a Fango exclusive now, I can say.
You can.
Yeah, like it.
So first of all, I loved this. I got to see it at Fantastic Fest in a packed theater as the gods intended, and it was so much fun. Theater was just going wild.
It was great. I was so happy to be there. It was almost, I think our goal was to have a premiere at Fantastic Fest, and then I think we sold out both theaters in about 20 minutes when the tickets went online. Yeah. So I knew it was going to be really exciting, and yeah, it was a great experience.
The energy in the theater was just super fun, and I feel like that's like the ideal kind of audience. It just feels like people that get it, like a very like midnight screening kind of vibe, and the energy was just like off the charts. What was that like for you, Danishka, sitting in the theater and being able to like see how people were responding to that?
Well, it was incredibly gratifying. It's something you imagine through the whole process of making a film. Like, what will it be like the first time an audience gets to see it? And will that joke land? Will that scare work? And to hear them laughing, screaming, and they applauded a few times spontaneously, which was very, very gratifying. I think I texted Suzanne immediately afterwards to tell her like how well it went, and to talk about which jokes got the most laughs and which kills got the most screams. Yeah, it was again everything I'd hoped for.
Awesome. And Suzanne, what was it like for you getting those text messages?
Oh, it was so wonderful. I truly, in my mind, it felt like I was there. Danishka did such a good job of talking about it. I was like, I see it. And I was so thrilled to Danishka telling me what really worked and what people you loved. It was still a joy for me, even though I couldn't be there.
Yeah. I love that. And I was going to ask you too, like if you immediately like texted or called after to convey like how it went over. So I'm really excited to hear that that's exactly what happened.
It's great because, it's such making films or making television, it's such a gamble. It's such a leap of faith, right? You do your best and you plan as well as you can, but you don't really know how people are going to respond. I mean, unless you're doing a lot of audience testing, which we didn't have time to do. So, that first time you see it with strangers, you just don't know. I mean, sometimes you make a big leap of faith and you fail. The gag doesn't work, or the character doesn't read, and that's just part of the process too. But when it actually works, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, and I think too, it was I was nervous because it's a movie. The original is such a beloved movie, and people have such strong feelings about it. And so taking something like that and doing something new with it, I was nervous to see if people would be like, "That's not what you should have done," or I mean, what can you do? Everyone's going to have an opinion, and
right.
And I think I speak for myself, and that I love the original movies so much. And so I had fun sort of coming up, it was sort of, I was writing fan fiction, I got to write, I got to do what I wanted, what I could do with it based on what was already there. So I hoped if I had, enjoyed writing it that much, that I hoped people would have the same feeling seeing it.
That's an amazing way to describe it as fan fiction, because I feel like it very much it pays tribute to the original, both the original movie, but also to the original source material as well, which are two different things in the end, So I feel like it paid tribute to both of those things without being overly precious to those things, which is a very fine line to walk, and I feel like you guys absolutely walked it.
Oh, I'm so glad. We certainly were like fangirls when we were going through the process, when Suzanne was writing the script and we were giving notes back and forth, and we would chuckle madly whenever we'd add some wonderful little element, like like the Space Baby t-shirt or something. We'd just like we'd be so thrilled, like amusing ourselves. So we hoped that other people would be equally charmed.
Yeah, and Danishka was so good at that too. You know, she'd be like, "Okay, I was thinking this." I'm like, "Oh, of course, you know, why didn't I think of that?" And then I'd be like, "Okay, I got one," and you know, and we would. It was so much fun to get kind of go back and forth. And be like, "I thought of another place," and then for me to get to see it at the end and see things, Danishka, that you did. You know, on top of that, it was such a joy for me because I was watching it going, oh, I was gasping at certain places. I'm like, she did.
These are honestly my favorite kinds of movies to watch, is when I get to talk to the filmmakers afterwards and they have this amount of passion and then this amount, they're like having this much fun talking about it, because that comes through regardless, like somehow that always comes through in the final project. And I always find that like my absolute favorite movies that I have the most fun with, when I get the opportunity and like the privilege to speak with the filmmakers, this is what it feels like they're like giddy about it, you know, you guys are having so much fun, and that comes through on the screen. And like I'm telling you, that audience was just like losing their minds and having such a blast.
It was really hysterical. And I wish it was like that on set too. You know, it's funny. I mean, we shot the movie during the height of the COVID pandemic, you know, and a scary time for a lot of people. You know, vaccines hadn't come out yet, and we were shooting in South Africa, and it was right during the South African variant, and everyone was very, you know, worried. Everybody I know was like, "What are you doing going to South Africa?" But of course, you know, we're very, very safe on set, and we're very careful, and nobody got sick. But even though we were shooting under those crazy conditions, we just really had a blast. I mean, it starts because Suzanne's script is so fun. And every actor who signed on was like, when they finally read the full script, they were so thrilled to be part of the project. You know, I would think the auditions, they were a little nervous because, you know, they'd come in and I'd have them do a pillow fight or whatever. And then I'd have to, you know, try to explain to them, you know, so in case you're wondering, this is actually a really smart and interesting film, and we're making a cultural statement, and I'm not here to sexually exploit you. So like, but once they read the full script and they understood, you know, everybody came to set to have fun and to really like give it their all. And every night we were laughing, you know, running through the woods covered in blood and laughing, and it was just a lot of fun.
That sounds like my ideal version of summer camp, running through the woods covered in blood and laughing.
Like horror summer camp.
Sign me up.
Was.
I'll give you all the money for that. So that's another question I had, was like, how do you pitch this to the actors, you know, like when you're first talking about this?
I was really worried. I mean, if you're a horror fan, like Suzanne and I, like, you know the franchise, you know its history, you know how groundbreaking it was. But if you're, you know, a young actor and not naturally a horror fan, and you haven't heard of Slumber Party Massacre, then yeah, you might think, what am I signing up for? So, you know, it helped that I've shot in Cape Town before. You know, this was my fourth project there, fourth project there. So I knew a lot of the people, and they trusted me. But yeah, like after, you know, every audition, I would give a little bit of context and a little bit of history. And then the actors who we did cast, I sent them a big Dropbox full of articles, academic essays, you know, copies of the films, so that they could really, if they wanted to, they could really dive in and really understand just how important this franchise is in horror history. And they all did. They all watched all the movies and read all the articles and got really, really excited. And that just helped, because by the time we got to set, everybody knew what they were doing.
I love that. And that's also like inducting a new audience into, like, you know, these old classics. And then now they're like getting to do this like revamped version of this. And it's just like kind of passing the torch on. That's really cool.
It was fun. We all ran around with the Russ Thorn doll taking selfies, pretending to drill each other. So, you know, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
As one does, you know.
As one does.
Suzanne, what was like the inception of this project? Like, how did you begin writing this script? Did SYFY approach you, or were you just deciding that you wanted to do this?
So there was at the time a wonderful executive at SYFY that Danishka and I know quite well. And he approached me and said, you know, I'm in talks with Shout Factory, and if this all works out, will you write it? I had worked with him before on 2 other movies. And so he was like, you know, you're the perfect person for this. And so we had kind of talked a little bit about what we wanted to do, and I went back and watched the movies again, and it just started really quickly. And again, it's hard to talk about without,
Right.
but really quickly, like one of the I mean, obviously there were things in the movie, the original, that were already there to pull from, that made it sort of easier, which is, you know, having the girls and say, okay, so I kind of know, I know who the characters are going to be. I know who my monster is going to be. And that, but pretty quickly I knew what I wanted to do with their journey. Mm-hmm. I'm trying really hard not to.
You're doing a great job, actually. I'm like, this is actually, it's making sense, but you're not giving anything away either. So you're doing great.
Yeah. So I knew what their journey would be to a point, and then I kind of just jumped off from there and said, well, okay, if that happens, where can it go from there? And the other pieces sort of fell into place.
I don't know if this is a spoiler of any sort. If it is, we'll have them cut it out. But there was a point in the movie where I thought the movie was over, and then I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's a short, it's not quite a full feature length, and maybe SYFY was just doing a shorter version. And then the movie wasn't over. And I was just like even more surprised than I had been in that first, you know, amount of time that had elapsed.
That's the part I was talking about, actually. That's the
yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think I told you, Suzanne, one of the things we talked about a lot when we were talking about the characters we loved from the original movie is, you know, we both had this love fest for the character of Courtney. Mm-hmm. And someone came up to me at the screening at Fantastic Fest, and I said, you know, I love the original movies. My favorite character is Courtney. And when I saw that there wasn't going to be a younger sister, I was so sad, and I was so ready to be disappointed. And then when Alex shows up, he said, I was like, I love this film. It now has everything I want.
It makes me so happy.
It's like, that's right. We've got you. We love her too.
Amazing. And another really cool thing about this is like the group that I was watching it with was a mixed bag of like fans, like diehard fans of the original, and then one like very much younger than us audience member who had never seen it. And equally, it works across the board for everybody. Like diehard fans were like losing their minds over Easter eggs, and more than Easter eggs, you know, there are some things that are like amazingly replicated for like fans where you're just like, holy shit, that's like a shot for shot thing, and it's amazing. But then for someone who has no idea what it is, and he still thought it was like the best, most amazing thing and had so much fun with it. And I was like, that's really cool to be able to satisfy both ends of that spectrum. Like that's a really hard thing to do. But I just feel like across the board, like everyone was just like having a blast.
That's thrilling to hear, because I certainly did do a few shot-for-shot sequences, you know, with a twist, but like a very strong homage. I studied those scenes really carefully, you know, in terms of pacing and framing, and I really wanted to recreate them. And I know a couple times during the edit, you know, we'd get feedback from various people, and people were like, well, do you really need to recreate that scene shot for shot? I mean, like, no one's even going to notice. I'm like, they will notice. It's going to be amazing. And even if they don't notice, I really love it. So we're going to do it. But it is really great to hear that people who don't know the movie enjoy it too.
Yes. Like horror fans absolutely noticed, and they're like, that is a shot for shot. And there's probably going to be people that are actually lining up like on YouTube videos, and you're going to have like after this premieres, there's going to be YouTube videos of the shot by shot lined up of the original and then your version. But then it works equally as well for someone that has no idea even what this is referencing necessarily.
Well, and Amy Holden Jones is a great director to, you know, to call back to, because her framing, I mean, you know, it was her first feature film, the original Slumber Party Massacre, but she'd been an editor, and she was a very experienced editor, and you can really tell, like, her framing is beautiful. Her cuts are beautiful. She does amazing staging and movement of actors in the frame. And so, you know, if there's anyone you want to call back to, there's a lot of really rich material in the original movie.
Nice. It works as a really beautiful tribute to her, I feel like, and then also with your own original twist and style infused into it. It's just a really lovely marriage of like the new and the old, which is also what the story is about, and just all of it is just it's a good time. So you shot this in South Africa. Did you use local talent and local crew?
Yeah, I think originally we were planning to do more of a mix. They have great crews there and great actors there, but I think we were planning to bring some people as well. But then, this was supposed to shoot quite early, I guess, in 2020. But then it got shut down because of the pandemic. And then we kept pushing it by like a couple of months because no one knew what was going to happen, right? We were like, well, maybe we'll be able to shoot in 2 months. But then it was worse, and they were like, well, maybe we'll be able to shoot in 2 months. And then it was worse again. So the production actually ended up being pushed by a whole year. And at that point, there was a travel ban. I had to get special permission to get into the country. And we realized we couldn't actually bring anyone. It was just going to be me going over there and working with great local talent. So I had no problem with that. I was happy to do it. But it just meant that, we couldn't do any, cameos or callbacks or, bring anyone we might have wanted to bring. So, we really made it about the fresh young talent that we found there. And they were just great to work with.
When you said that, Danishka, before we got on, I was trying to think about the first time you and I met with Shout. And because of the pandemic, I was like, was that 2018, 19? Like I couldn't actually remember.
2019.
This all start was 19.
Oh, or was it 2018? It might have been 2018.
The end of 2018, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the end of 2018.
Because I think one of the benefits of it for me was that I got to, originally the turnaround was going to be a lot faster. And I had the luxury then, because of the date being pushed, to spend more time with the script and keep going through it. And like Danishka and I said, going back and forth, and she would give me notes and I would implement them. So yeah, I think it really benefited. We got lucky, the pandemic worked out for us a little bit.
Suzanne is an amazing writer who will never give up. So like, even the last minute, she would also be like, I've got one more idea, one more draft. It's like, I've got a new way to fix that scene and make them wonderful. So it was a great collaboration.
I feel like you must like collaborating that way, because I feel like as you guys are each talking about this process, you just sound like you just had like a hell of a lot of fun with it and like adding to it and going back and forth of like new things to add in.
Well, I'd actually wanted to work with Suzanne for a while. We'd both been working on these different shows at SYFY. She mentioned Josh Van Hoot, who's an amazing executive who he greenlit so many amazing projects by women writers and directors. Really made a massive difference, certainly in my career and for lots of people I know. And but we'd both been working with him, but we'd never worked together. And I'd been wanting to work with Suzanne. She'd been on my radar, and I was like, oh, I really hope like maybe the next project we can bring Suzanne on. I can work with Suzanne. So then when I bumped into Josh in this very casual meeting in LA, and he mentioned his idea, of rebooting Slumber Party, and then he said, and I've got Suzanne attached. And I was like, oh my God. First of all, I really want to do it, and second, yay, it's Suzanne. So it was very exciting for me.
Same. Josh was always talking about Danishka, and I loved Banana Splits. So when he said, he's like, I think we, he thought about the both of us. So, he just decided that he wanted the two of us to do it, and that was it. And so we both are very lucky.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you, Josh. I think that's awesome. And I also love that you both were like hoping to work with the other, and like you were both on each other's radars, like, oh, I want to work with her.
Yeah, Suzanne's quite amazing with kills. She does these beautiful, beautiful kills, but she's also really great with character, and she makes her female characters so beautiful. Like they have so many layers and so much realism. It's not easy to do. Writing's the hardest job of any job when it comes to making a movie. So if you don't start with a great script, you could put all your love and energy into it, but it's an uphill battle. But if you can start with a great script, then all the slings and arrows of, bad weather and bad timing and problems with actors or crew, like if you've got the good script, you still have a really good fighting chance regardless.
Well, to take it, a step further, it's that Danishka also, it's when you have wonderful, talented people that encourage you also, or Danishka, always was like, pushing me to find find things in the script to take forward. And, I always felt comfortable and I never felt like, oh, I'm going to show her this, whatever she doesn't like it. It was always like, all right, I'm trying something, it's always, I was always encouraged to be as crazy and fun and as possible. And so, it's so nice to work with a director that has such a vision and passion and articulates so well what, her notes and her thoughts that it's a great experience.
We'll have to do it again. Get to make another one.
Yes, I'm in.
Is there any chance of maybe a Slumber Party 2 coming from the two of you?
We might have to jump to 3 because we already stole a bunch from 2.
That's okay. I would still watch it.
I see someone on Twitter, someone said something about like, 2 would have to be a full musical. And I'm like, yes, I am 100% in for that.
That's why I'm still gunning for the two of you to make a part 2, because I'm just envisioning it as like a full blown musical, like to the max.
And any movie with an 80s girl band in it is going to be amazing. So
obviously, yeah.
We haven't touched that.
If you do, can I just be an extra? I'm not an actor, but it just put me in the background as somebody walking by, like at the concert.
Victim?
Yes. It is my dream. It is on my bucket list to be a victim. I'd love to be a final girl, but I'm, like I said, acting is not my thing. But a victim, maybe. As long as I'm dead when they get there,
Actually, one of the things we worked on set was horror screams. So we did we shared a whole bunch of videos that all the actors and myself with our favorite horror screams, and which actors we thought screamed the best and why their screams were so good. And it was like a wonderful part of prep, just sharing this kind of love of little elements of horror movies. And I think it really worked. By the time everyone got to set, there wasn't a single scream I had to do like a retake of. I was like, that is perfect.
The dissection of the scream. That's amazing. Wait, who has your favorite horror scream? Now I'm curious.
Oh, who's my favorite? Well, this is probably biased just because, I can't stop thinking about it right now, but, Jamie Lee Curtis has an amazing horror scream.
That's a song.
And her mother had an amazing horror scream. Yes. So it's genetic.
Genetically
good horror screamers. Suzanne, do you have a favorite?
Goodness, I'll think about it. I'll yell it out if it comes.
Okay. That's a really hard question if you have not spent time like dissecting the material ahead of time.
It's true. And it's an art form like that. It's a part of the actor's repertoire that it doesn't come to everybody naturally. I think I'm
thinking about it right now and I'm like, oh God, if I had to do a horror scream, I don't know.
I don't think I could do it. I can't act at all, which is why I have such huge respect for actors. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And I wonder, it's like on the vocal cords, like, do you have to practice a certain, is it like singing? We have to practice a certain way to scream?
From the diaphragm.
Yeah.
Right?
I was careful not to do too many takes for those kinds of things. Because I do think you actually, you can damage your voice.
Yeah. Especially if you're not used to that as well. Like that's a very intense kind of action going on your vocal cords. And the best horror screams have like a certain kind of cadence to it, I feel like.
Yeah,
not everyone can do. Yes. Not just a monotone, here or here. It's like a little bit of a roller coaster to it.
To come from the soul.
Yes.
Like a really good horror scream. It's like rips right out of you.
And it's timing too, right? Because you have to have the certain length. Can't be too long, can't be too short. You have to have a really nice Yeah, it's like a lot of timing in this.
It's the Goldilocks zone for Scream. Yeah, it's like totally there.
There's a lot to it, honestly. Now I feel like I'm gonna go after this and just like go through a bunch of different horror screams to try and find my favorite.
They should do
Is
horror
there-
scream awards. It'd be like they like kill counts, but best screams. Someone should do
Nice.
that.
All right, Fango Twitter contest for October. Slumber
There we
Party
go.
Massacre contest. There we go. Is there anything like crazy idea that you guys like kind of threw around that didn't make it into the script that you cut out?
We did. This is a little bit of spoiler, but we've got. I'll try not to spoil it too much. We have more than one murder weapon. I won't say how many we have, but we did try a lot of other different murder weapons as well. Suzanne kept switching things in and out until we found the right balance. So there's definitely other drafts with different tools entering the fray.
Interesting.
I spent a lot of time researching different types of drills, and then kind of came up with ones that didn't exist, but I searched really hard to show that they might really exist. And some of them, Danishka's like, that's not, we can't. It's not a thing.
Vetoed.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you ever worry that your Google history would just like look absolutely fucking insane if somebody ever like went through it?
All the time. Yeah. Another thing I put together for the cast was video clips of sexy pillow fights. So I wanted to demonstrate some like particular camera motions and stuff of a classic, sexy pillow fight. So yeah, my Google history is just a mess.
You're very interesting. This is a sexy pillow fight. This is a not sexy pillow
Not a
fight.
sexy pillow fight. Yes.
Years ago.
Good lighting, over the top, too slow, too fast.
The Goldilocks of pillow fights.
Yes, exactly.
Timing's everything. Years ago, I worked on a reality television show in New Orleans, and it was we basically had to like give the contestants something to do, to like get out of, like bind their hands or whatever, and you had to come up with different ways to for people to get out of situations, and there really aren't that many interesting ones. And so I spent so much time Googling like torture and how you tie up people. And then because it was New Orleans, there was this sex shop down the street, and every day I would go down there and be like, here's my what I need. And they knew that, oh, she's here. Okay. They're like, okay, I learned handcuffs.
You're like, I'm returning these. They're too easy to get out of.
Yep.
They escaped in 5 seconds. What is this garbage?
It's not working for me.
For production assistant, I'd be like, all right, like, I'm putting a straight jacket on you, and I'm laying you on the, and people would walk by every day in the office and be like, okay. And so I always think about, like, God forbid anyone was like checking up on me. They'd be like, oh, this, we should take her in.
Meanwhile, the sex shop in New Orleans just thought that you were running the like most successful dungeon in the entire town. They're like, wow, she's back every day for like 10 new tools.
When you left, they cried a tear. They were like, oh, our best client.
There goes half our revenue. Oh my gosh. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share with us before we go?
I'm going to be live tweeting during the broadcast.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So if people want to tweet along, I'll try and share maybe some behind the scenes photos and maybe some little trivia about the production.
Nice. Do you have the time and date for that?
October 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Central.
Beautiful. There it is.
Well, not sadly, I guess, but I'm getting married on the 16th, the night of the.
Sadly, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What? You're not going to live tweet on your wedding night?
Condolences.
Thank you. I was like, well, this isn't going to work. I'm going
to do a short wedding, short marriage.
Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. Okay, but I'm going to be really excited if I just see just one tweet from you during that live. Just one.
There better not even be one, Suzanne. You better not just give your phone to somebody else, lock it in a box until morning.
Schedule it ahead of time. I just want to see one go up so I know like that she's at her wedding and she did a live tweet for it.
At one point, and this is how wonderful my fiance is, he's like, should we get a screen and watch it there? And I was like, no.
Maybe no.
Yeah.
That's when you know your work-life balance is truly lost.
What an amazing offer, though. I see why you're marrying this dude.
He's a keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, I want people to tweet at me because I'm dying to hear, so I can peek a couple times and see what's going on. What people say, just the good stuff. I want to hear all the things people like.
Okay. What's your Twitter handle?
It's my name. It's at Suzanne Keilly.
Okay. Live tweet. Congratulations on the wedding and also congratulations on the movie, mix it up in there.
Double celebration.
Yeah.
Yay! I will pop 2 bottles of champagne that night.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I want to ask your favorite kills, but I feel like that's a spoiler. So I will maybe you'll live tweet it that night.
I will. I'll do that. That's a good challenge.
All right.
Thank you
Slumber
so
Party
much.
Massacre, SYFY, October 16th. Yes. All right. Thank you. I'm very excited for everyone to see this.